Hello everyone and welcome to the Ohio Individual Service Plan Overview Training, Part 2. Today, we will be speaking about the Ohio Individual Service Plan, also known as the OhioISP. The goal of this training is to help you understand what the OhioISP is and how OhioISP is transforming the system. Please be reminded that you must complete Part 1 before reviewing Part 2. The takeaways from Part 1. Why the change to a single assessment and plan was necessary, and key principles and concepts that are a part of the Ohio ISP. In Part 2, we will be discussing the Ohio ISP and how it interfaces with the new IT platform. Before we discuss the Ohio ISP, let's start off by reviewing where we started. The external workgroup was one of the first steps of the process. It was formed in 2019 as a diverse group that represented our field. They were supported by DoD staff when needed. The external workgroup put in a lot of work during meetings, outside of meetings, and after a lot of spirited conversations, the workgroup developed first an assessment template and then a plan template. Once the assessment and plan were developed, the tester workgroup was called upon. As you can see, the tester group was also very diverse. The idea was to ensure the spectrum of needs and service providers were well represented. When the tester group received the assessment and later the assessment and plan, they received no training, just guidance on using the form and tips to have a conversation-driven assessment. We wanted to ensure we gave no preconceived ideas or opinions so we could get clear data. The external workgroup developed a survey for the test group, and this survey had specific data points to ensure the right information was collected. This slide shows who participated in testing. The data from the submitted surveys let the external workgroup know what was working and what was not working so they could fine-tune as needed. Without the external workgroup and the testing group, this project would not be successful. After the assessment was tested, the reviewer group was established. The goal of this group was to ensure that Ohio ISP is compliant, to assist with updates to the Ohio ISP documents, and to develop training for the field. The group was formed based on conversations and requests from the external work group because they wanted to make sure the new plan met all areas of compliance. Where we've been. This illustrates the Ohio ISP work we've done from the beginning. In early 2019, former Director Davis announced his initiatives, including the core values and key principles. Also at this time, the town hall forums were held to gather feedback. In summer 2019, the external work group was established and the Ohio ISP work began. In late 2019, the assessment template was developed. The Ohio Department of Health reviewed the assessment, and the testing group was established. In 2020, the assessment testing began. Data was collected from the testing and analyzed. The reviewer work group was established, updates were made to the assessment, and work began on the Ohio ISP. Salesforce was selected as an IT solution. Third-party vendors were acknowledged, and the Ohio ISP was finalized for testing. Fall 2020, the Ohio ISP was updated for testing. Data was collected from testing and analyzed, and updates were made accordingly. Continuing to early 2021, SSA and QIDP training Part 3 is offered. The customized trainings by role and a method for feedback collection was developed. Late 2021, the Ohio ISP rollout began. Implementation of the Ohio ISP continued to refine based on feedback and guiding principles. Early 2022, implementation of all plans are entered into the Ohio ISP online platform or via third-party vendor. 2023, implementation and training offered with regional support and technical assistance available. The Ohio ISP team also meet regional and statewide needs. These next few slides provide us with a visual representation of the Ohio ISP. This O is from the O in Ohio and represents the Ohio Individual Service Plan and the ongoing cyclical process of assessment, planning, monitoring, and revisions. Next, the I is for individual. It was added because the person is at the center of everything we do. What exactly does that mean? It means we need to remember. People drive their plan. We need to be asking, what do they want? How do they want to be supported? Who do they want to support them? We need to take the time to understand what they want their life to look like. Teams need to empower people to drive the planning process. This training is not just about a single plan, but also about how standardization will bring systemic change. Now, as team members are added, we now show the representation of togetherness during the OhioISP process. Each team is made up of many important key players, and each plays an important role and has important responsibilities. The teams should promote development of natural, genuine relationships, be creative, consider more than just what has always been done. How could technology be used? Does this make sense for the person? Does the person still want or need the same level of support? And communicate. What is working? What needs revised? And everyone plays a part in monitoring. Finally, the OhioISP represents the person remains at the center of everything we do, and they should be supported by their team. Person-centered planning does not look the same for everyone, but there are guidelines to keep in mind during assessment and planning. Standardization and simplification. Everyone will be using the same tools, assessment and plan. IT platform will be used statewide, and DoDD is focusing on using simplified language to ensure our materials are easy to read and understand. Engage and empower. Teams not only need to empower people to drive the planning process, but to speak up and make decisions in their daily lives. Relaxed environment. Meetings and conversations should occur where, when, and how the individuals want. Remember, we should be empowering the person to make decisions, not just about what goes into their plan, but about the entire planning process. Who do they want to attend their ISP? Is there someone they don't want to attend? Where do they feel most comfortable? Are there topics they are not ready to discuss? All of these things and more should be considered. Person-centered tools. The IT platform has tools embedded in the assessment to help with the person-centered planning. But remember, person-centered planning is not just about paper. It is about our approach and respecting the person and supporting people to live their best lives. Lastly, intuitive questions ensures the right information is gathered during the assessment phase. The OhioISP aligns with the Charting the Life course terminology. For those who might be unfamiliar, Charting the Life course has been supported by DoDD since 2017 because it teaches the tools that people need to support folks at any age or stage of life. To develop a vision for a good life, think about what they need to know, identify how to find or develop supports, and discover what it takes for the person to live the life they want to live. Let's take a few minutes to briefly go over what's in each section of the OhioISP. So let's start from the top. Communication. It is key to remember that behaviors are often a form of communication, and that the people closest to the person often understand the many ways the person might communicate. It's important to make sure those folks are giving input. This would be the place in the assessment where you would address all the different ways a person expresses themselves or receives information, including nonverbal communication. If the person is a master at reading someone's body language, or maybe the person plays loud music to tell the whole neighborhood how they're feeling, the communication section is where that crucial information will live. This section includes a discovery tool called the communication chart. Advocacy and engagement speaks to how the person participates in making decisions. All of us want to be a valued member of our households, our neighborhoods, and workplaces. For this section, we will think of a valued role as the opportunities folks have to engage and contribute with the world around them. We all like to remember that we belong and that the choices we make have a direct effect on our lives. Safety and security will get at a person's safety skills and their ability to be home alone. This is where we'll share information around risk of harm. If this person physically hurt themselves or others, important things to know about how the person and their team ensures safety will live in this section. In this section, we'll also consider, when is this person happiest? We'll think about the things that drive the person's interests, and we'll include how trauma has impacted them. When we are having conversations with a person about their social supports and spiritual needs, consider groups that the person belongs to. Ask them what their family relationships like. Who is important in this person's life? Have there been any changes in their relationships? Are there broken relationships that the person's really struggling with? Can you think of ways they have new opportunities to build friendships? The social and spiritual section will help us explore all the different ways that folks meaningfully connect with others. Daily life and employment. This section explores where and what a person wants to learn. This section also explores where they want to work and what they want to work for. Where does the person want to be with their job or career? How do they want to get there? This section also talks about the person's skills and needs with handling money. The age of the person will certainly be taken into consideration when completing this part of the assessment. If the information is not applicable, it won't populate. But if it is applicable, for instance, if the person wants to learn more about how to get a job, or maybe they're working towards a promotion or finishing trade school, then the path to employment will be found here. The Ohio ISP includes hanging out at home and getting around in the community living section. We want to make sure folks can get out and about and get to the things they want to do. This is where we would discover the places the person wants or needs to go and exactly how they're going to get there. This section is where we have the opportunity to explore transportation options. When we think about healthy living, we want to think about what the person needs to stay healthy and well. Medical needs have always been a primary focus and will continue to be a primary focus, but not the only one. The healthy living section gives a home to that very important information. No assessment completed by an external professional will be left behind. We are going to upload all of that critical information the team has gathered. So, at the end of each section, there will be an option to note if other assessments have been done and to upload them to the record. The Ohio ISP standardized assessment and plan includes discovery tools interwoven into template. Any additional assessments should provide valuable information around important aspects of the person's life. In the example seen here, the communication chart is the last part seen of the communication section. The people who understand the person best would have been actively involved in completing the chart so that everybody in the person's life understands the specifics of their communication style. It will be included at the end of the communication section. When taking the time to get to know someone and what they want their life to look like, imagine all the options available to them. Do they have natural supports? How is technology being used by this person? Maybe they're already using technology. How many of us are using Alexa or some other robot or app to create our grocery lists for the week? Is using technology like that possible for the person you're talking with? Teams can plan to complete the assessment so that there's more than enough opportunity to have a relaxed environment where you and the person can enjoy a conversation. Does the person feel comfortable in the place where you're meeting? Check in with them. Remember that the person's needs, their wants, and desires is what's informing the planning process, so it might feel a little different starting there. It might feel different beginning with what the person wants their life to look like instead of starting with the service they've been receiving for the last couple of years, or the place they've been going every day for day program. So now we're at the end of the Ohio ISP assessment sections. We're done exploring and discovering, and now we need to have a plan. But what does the Ohio ISP do with all that wonderful and rich information we just put into the system? All the things we learned in each section are going to create the living, breathing plan that is read by the person and all the members of their team. Now, let's go over the process of how all that information we just learned and gathered in the assessment makes it into the plan. We often talk about a bridge from assessment to planning, and here it is. All of those rich conversations that came from the assessment, getting at how someone gets things done in their life, where they might want and need some help, what they want to accomplish. That information feeds into summaries and informs other areas to get you ready for planning. So what the person wants and needs moves into what is that really going to look like. Here is an overview of how the different sections of the OhioISP are divided. These sections include an introduction, things that are important to and important for the person's skills and abilities, known and likely risks, what's working and not working, outcomes, services and supports, participation and informed consent, and contact information. Now we will walk through what each section of the OhioISP will contain and how the information will be captured throughout the plan. The first page is the introduction, which provides a snapshot of the person. This page identifies what people like and admire about the person, what is important to and important for the person, and how best to support the person. The next section is important to and important for. The important to column identifies what a person wants to make them feel content and happy with their life. And the important for column identifies what the person needs to be healthy, safe, and maintain their status as a valued member of society. You will find that many items in these next few sections will be filled in from the information identified through assessment, but there may be some items that will need edited during the planning process. Items that populate from the assessment will be organized by assessment area. The next section really explains itself. It outlines what the person's skills and abilities are. What is the person good at? What can they do on their own? And what they have to contribute. These items pull over from the assessment summaries and are organized in sections by assessment area as well. After skills and abilities comes known and likely risks. This page identifies the supports a person needs to be safe, and that includes their supervision levels. This could also include MUI trends and preventative measures, restrictive measures, special diets, and choking risks. Information around what is the risk, what it looks like, where it occurs automatically comes over from assessment, but the rest of the information needs to be completed to specifically identify how to support the person and who is responsible to provide that support. Next, we have the outcomes section. The outcome should be what the person believes will make their life better, or identify something they want to accomplish over the next year, and then provides information on how the team will work together to make that happen. We have all seen ISPs that do a great job identifying something the person wants to do in the body of the plan, like go to a major league baseball game or learn how to be a DJ. But the outcome is to learn to make their bed or some other task that does not reflect what the person really wanted or was excited about. The only thing worse than not asking someone what they want is asking and not trying to make it happen. This section should also include what progress on the outcome should look like, how successes will be celebrated, and important and relevant history that may impact the outcome, especially if the outcome is to be continued to the next year. The ISP should identify why it did not get accomplished the first year and how things will be done differently the next year to accomplish the outcome. The next section outlines services and supports. This page details all the services and supports a person wants and needs to be as independent, healthy, and safe as possible, along with who is responsible to provide them. This page includes paid supports or supports that are paid through the waiver, ICF, or other funding. Additional supports, like getting an Alexa, an emergency button, or a ride from a friend to church. And then professional referrals, which could be doctors, dentists, or speech therapists that the person is already seeing or needs to see. Next, we will review the participation and informed consent page. On this page, the person or guardian indicates their understanding regarding items like filing complaints, individual rights, and consent to the plan. This section also shows team member participation and agreement and allows for signatures and dissenting opinions. If there are any restrictive measures included in the OhioISP, the details and approval will live here as well. The final section is contact information. This section outlines the person's demographic information and provides an area to identify other people, places, and groups that are important to them, such as People First meetings or the bowling alley for their bowling league. So, as you can see, we have come full circle. The Ohio ISP is a loop that begins and ends with ongoing conversation. It gives the team a way to assess, plan, and monitor or check in on how it is going, and to revise when things need change, not just one time a year. As you can see with all the great information that can be gathered, the Ohio ISP works best when the person and those who know the person best are included in the discussion. Now, let's review what is next in the Ohio ISP process. An exciting aspect of the Ohio ISP is the online system. Before we discuss the system, we want to acknowledge what we have learned. First, we know IT solutions don't magically develop great plans. The template and tools only support better assessments and plans. In addition, we recognize that the IT solution must support person-centered practices. This is not just a place where plans are written, but every team member's needs will be supported. And finally, we have learned a lot, both what has and has not worked, from the great work already done by those in the field. There are several benefits and features of Ohio ISP Online. First, team members will be able to access to up-to-date plans at any time. It also was developed with a focus on being easy to use and understand. As was discussed earlier, the focus will be on simplified language and standardized and consistent definitions. Another feature is better communication for the entire team, using notifications and other features to connect all team members. We recognize the transition to a single plan in Ohio ISP Online will need to be continually refined based on feedback. DoDD is committed to providing ongoing support and enhancements to improve the system and process for all users. You might be wondering, what can I do to get started? The takeaway is to build awareness of where things are right now. Is it simple? Consider the words you are using, both written and in conversation. Dig deeper. Focus on meaningful conversations and really get to know the person. And finally, compare current plans and assessments with the 6 essential elements. For more information and resources, you may visit our Ohio ISP website at dodd.ohio.gov/OhioISP. Here you will find the current paper version of the Ohio ISP, sample Ohio ISPs and templates, frequently asked questions, which are updated regularly, various job aids and guidance documents such as ones for outcomes and the 6 essential elements, trauma information, and a regional contact map, which will connect you with the right DoDD contact in your area. Now that you have completed the Part 1 and Part 2 Ohio ISP trainings, you are ready for Part 3. Various topics are covered in Part 3, including more detailed information on the assessment and planning process. And remember, you got this. We are here to support you in this journey. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact the Ohio ISP mailbox at ohioisp@dodd.ohio.gov.